So when we were thinking about what to call, the session, we thought I came up with this title that towards a new civil rights movement, undocumented students, access to citizenship, higher education. And I thought about that because it reminds me a lot of the issues that we were addressing between 1954 and 1968, the period that we historically know as the civil rights movement. And at the time, the African American population in the U.S. was between 15 million and 19 million. So that was the number of people that were being affected by the injustices of discrimination and segregation. Today, the undocumented population numbers about 12 million. But we also have to consider the 4 million children who are U.S. citizens born in this country, but who have parents that are undocumented. And they are affected just as much as their parents and their foreign-born siblings without legal status by the exclusion, discrimination, and sort of living in the shadows in American society. So if you add that 4 million to 12 million, we're talking about 16 million people that are being affected because we have an immigration system that is ineffective. So that's the number. And also something that sort of shaped my thinking about what to call this session is this series that is running on CNN. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's called Latino in America, or something to that effect. And on one of the latest segments, Soledad O'Brien, who's the host of this series on CNN, went to a small town in Pennsylvania called Shenandoah. And in Shenandoah, it's they have a very diverse population, a growing Latino population. That's why CNN decided to go there. And one of the stories that CNN featured about Shenandoah was the brutal killing of a young man who was undocumented. And it would be one thing if the perpetrators, the killers, were, sort of extremists, these anti-immigrant, people that are just hateful. It would be one thing if it was that. I think, we can reconcile the understanding the motives for that killing. But the fact was that the killers were not right-wing extremists, but rather honor students. There was 3 young men that were charged in the case of this killing. One of them was the star quarterback of the football team, an honor student. Another one was a straight A student, and the other was also an honor student. So these are folks that were sort of the models in this community, so the future leaders of the community. And yet they were the ones that were responsible for this. And what made me think about a new civil rights movement while reflecting on that story was that despite the brutal killing of this young man, the sentencing was they were found guilty, and the punishment was 6 months to 23 months in jail. And that was it. Most likely they'll serve the lower limit of that. So how is it that in this country, after the civil rights movement, that we have this scenario where clearly, there was witnesses, and now the federal government is actually investigating the police department for, sort of not doing their job in providing all of the evidence in the case. And a lot of that is reminiscent of many of the stories that I'm sure some of you know about the civil rights era and sort of the things the legacy of oppression of African Americans in this country. And so, in some ways, there are many parallels to that experience and what undocumented immigrants are facing today. And so, I argue in the book that in fact we need to organize and participate in this democratic process to address this injustice that is occurring. Now, the book focuses on the students, on those that are in the school system, those that as soon as they set foot in elementary school were promised the American dream. That idea, that notion was reinforced year after year, that if you work hard enough, that you will reap the rewards, and that anything is possible. This is a narrative that is also supported at home with their parents. Immigrants that came looking for opportunities, for a better life, for a better way of living for their children. So you have these messages at home about the American dream. You have these messages in schools about the American dream. And yet you reach a point in high school, this juncture, the significant juncture, and you find out that, as one of the students put it, nobody ever said that the American dream was only for some. And so this book chronicles that experience for high-achieving, highly engaged students who did everything that was asked of them to be role models, to be model citizens, to volunteer. They did all of that, and yet because of our broken immigration laws, we as a society are not able to benefit from their talent, from their contributions. So what I want to do is read a few excerpts from the book, just to give you some context to the stories of these students. So the way that I organized the book was looking at various stages in student school. So I looked at high school students, community college students, students who were at a university, and also students who had graduated but yet are not able to do anything with their college degree because they remain undocumented. And then, sort of as a contrast to what could be if they were to get legal status, I profile four individuals who live most of their life undocumented, were able to legalize their status through various means, and I asked them, what are you doing now? What are some of them? I spent about a year and a half surveying 187 students across the country. Most of them were from Texas and California, which is where most of the undocumented population lives. But we also, talked to students in Illinois, in New York, North Carolina, Virginia, Washington, D.C., a variety of different places, Georgia, Massachusetts. And out of those 187, we interviewed 102 of them. And so the case studies that I present in the book are intended to highlight some of the salient themes that came out from all of those interviews. So they're sort of representative of some of the major concerns, experiences that we found among students at different stages in their educational journeys.